The remains of 40 of the victims of the Malaysian plane shot down over Ukraine last week have arrived back in the Netherlands. The country held a day of mourning as bodies were met by relatives, the royal family and other officials at a solemn ceremony. 2 military planes flew the remains from Kharkiv in eastern Ukraine to Eindhoven in the Netherlands. From there, David Chater sent us this report.
Returning to the Netherlands, where their tragic journey began, the first of the victims of flight MH17. 40 bodies, all of them yet to be identified, carried out of the cargo planes with the dignity and respect they deserved. Scenes in marked contrast to the treatment on the battlefields of eastern Ukraine, where their flight was shot out of the sky. The Dutch royal family and Prime Minister were in attendance at the ceremony on the military base at Eindhoven Airport, as well as more than 1,000 relatives of the victims. Their anguish and grief can only have been sharpened by the fact that none of them knew whether their loved ones were in the coffins before them. It could take the forensic teams here in the Netherlands weeks or even months to fully identify all of the victims. It'll be a grueling time for the relatives who are standing now watching the bodies being taken to the hearses and then to a military base in Hilversum, where the forensic teams will be at work. 193 of the victims are from the Netherlands. They're flying at half-mast the flags of 16 other nations. The war is no longer something remote in Ukraine. It has reached into homes across the world. More victims' bodies will be loaded in Kharkiv in the east of Ukraine for the flight to Eindhoven over the next 2 days. The scale of this tragedy continues to grow, not just in terms of human grief, but also in its political impact. The calls for justice for the victims are growing louder. How much longer can European politicians continue to ignore them? David Chater, Al Jazeera, Eindhoven.
Well, Dutch investigators in Ukraine have told Al Jazeera their main focus is ensuring that all the remains of their citizens are brought back to the Netherlands.
We are planning on investigating the crash site again, because just if you think of the size of the crash site, it's a very big area, it is very likely that there will still be human remains possibly left. So we very much want there to be a thorough search by forensic experts of that area if there are still human remains left, because that at this point is our main priority, bringing human remains back to in the Netherlands where the identification is taking place, and eventually, obviously, after identification, bringing people home.
The Ukrainian government says pro-Russia separatists have shot down 2 of its fighter jets in eastern Ukraine. Footage posted on YouTube appears to show rebels searching through the wreckage of 1 plane. From Donetsk, Nazin Moshiri has more.
A plume of smoke rises from a crash site. Flares from the Ukrainian fighter jet fill the skies. Armed separatists arrive at the wreckage. The Ukrainian Su-25 went down in a wheat field. They're searching for the pilot. This man says they found a parachute and some blood a few kilometers away. They think he may have escaped to Ukrainian government-held territory. Ukrainian forces say their jets were hit by anti-aircraft missiles. Pro-Russian fighters admit they brought down at least 1 of the jets. The warplanes are supporting Ukrainian forces on the ground. These troops are only a few kilometers from Donetsk. The Ukrainians accuse Russia of arming the separatists. A few months ago, this commander was a chemistry teacher. Now he's leading his men to war.
We need to cut the supply route between Russia and here. But even if we cannot do that, we will still take the city.
This Ukrainian brigade has lost 5 soldiers in the past week, but they say they're still going to go ahead with a final major push on Donetsk. It's absolutely crucial for the Ukrainian forces to take the city if they are to defeat the separatists in the east of the country.
This latest incident will make a ceasefire more difficult. Separatists don't want Kiev to rule here, and the Ukrainians want to take back control of the border with Russia. Many people have already left this region. Those that have stayed are waiting for the next big battle, dividing their country and destroying their lives. Nazanin Mashiri, Al Jazeera, Eastern Ukraine.
Well, the ongoing conflict in Ukraine provoked a brawl in parliament. Tensions boiled over as nationalist lawmakers tried to physically remove the leader of the pro-Russian Communist Party. It was over accusations he made to a Russian TV channel about high civilian casualty rates at the hands of Ukrainian government forces. There's plenty more still ahead here on Al Jazeera, including hopes for peace in the Central African Republic as Christian and Muslim fighters sign a ceasefire.